G'day, I thought I'd do this video as a bit of a catch-up video. I've been asked about something in more detail, and I thought I'd share you with something that I've done to the drill press here. So to the drill press first. This used to have a plastic guard on it, and that was all fine. Didn't look terribly nice, but it worked. I put the metal guard on there so I could extend that a bit, and you see that on the changing the guard video. However, what then happened was that because this is metal and it's bolted rigidly to this, it started to transmit a bit of noise, and so I had a bit of a think about that. I did some time in the automotive industry where they worry about noise, vibration and harshness, and so I've got a couple of solutions which I'll share with you because you might find them useful for doing something like this or something related to it. So part of the problem is that this metal guard is bolted rigidly to the frame of the drill. The motor transmits or vibrates as part of its normal motory things, transmits the vibration to the frame, that goes into the sheet metal, and that acts like a giant soundboard. So one of the things that I've done is isolated it. And what I've got here is basically a washer, a piece of gasket material, and that could be rubber. It's just that I'm pushed for space, so I just used some 1.5mm thick gasket material, but it'd be better if it was 2 or possibly even 3mm rubber. And what I'm going to do is sandwich that underneath, put the sheet metal in there, and then put that on top. And what that'll mean is the high frequency vibrations won't find it as easy to get through that material, and so it'll lessen the transmission of the vibration, so I won't get it or won't hear as much through the sheet metal. There are actually 3 attachment points for the guard. There are 2 down here, 1 there and 1 on the opposite side, and then there's another one over here. And so I've done that treatment to all 3, and that cuts down the noise a bit, but there's another thing that needed to be done as well. The other thing that needed to be done, and this is just a temporary fix, but where the guard was in contact, that was able to rattle and shake a bit. So I've put some soft cushioning material in there, and I'll put some better stuff in there. But that's the other trick to this, is to basically stop hard points coming into contact with each other. Put some soft stuff in there. So that seems to be the spot, but a couple of pieces along the hinge line there might have been needed as well. So now that I know that works, I'll probably get some thinner material, maybe some more of that gasket material, and put that in there just to soften that a little bit. It's quite noticeable that when the guard's open like that, it makes less noise than when it's closed, and so that's, to me, is a sign that this shakes. Now, getting back to the washer part. I have before mounted motors on rubber washers, so that the vibration here doesn't actually get very far at all. It doesn't get into here, doesn't get into here, and so on. I think I did that with a shaper once, and I think I've done that with some grinding machines I have. So even if you haven't got a metal structure like this, which is going to act as a soundboard, if you wanted to get rid of a little bit of vibration, a little bit of noise from your machines, you could possibly look at putting some rubber washers behind, and preferably in front as well, with a big mudguard washer to try and deaden some of that vibration, cut that out. So you're really looking to isolate your soundboards, for want of a better term, isolate the sources of vibration. Other options you have are you could use some of the automotive spray that's available to put some sound deadening material in there. Now that's a lot of expense and a lot of mucking around, but that's a possibility as well if you wanted to cut down on the radiated noise that something like this will put out. But by isolating, insulating, taking away the ringiness of the structure, they're all ways of controlling noise in machinery. The other thing that I needed to explain were the use of these deburring tools. The person I was speaking to didn't quite understand the inside part of it. Now, The outside is easy enough. You just put that in there and you can rotate that round and it'll deburr. But what you can do by pushing the button on the bottom, it kicks that blade up. You can put that in there, and you need to get this so it's round the right way first. As you can see there, it's now down in that hole, and so you can then do your deburring that way. At the end of it, you push the button and you can slide out of the hole, and so you can deburr the inside. The other nice thing about these is that they can be used on round tube. I've already done this once in a previous take and it didn't work because I had a car going past, so we'll do the inside. Okay, if I deburr that, I can get a nice uniform deburr on that, even though that's on a curved surface. If I use something like this, which is what I normally use for deburring holes and flats, what I'll get, as you can see on the high spots, I get quite a heavy deburring, and on the low spots it's quite light. And so if you want that uniformity, something like this is nice. You can buy a version called an elliptic deburr. I haven't got one of those, which is a powered version which will do something similar because it's a two-blade tool. What else can you use for deburring? Well, if you've got a lot of holes to deburr, you can just put a countersink in and you can give them a quick, just a quick touch. I mean, all you're doing with deburring is just taking off a burr, which is a loose piece of metal off the corner of a hole or a cut edge. So you're not after anything particularly wonderful. If you have sheet metal like this, you can use a tool like this one. This has got two sharpened wheels, and the idea is you drag that along. Now, one of the problems with this, and you might just be able to pick it up, is you get a bit of a wavy edge, and that's because this is cutting, your hands springing away and so on. So if you can put that down on a surface, right, you're going to get a better result. The other thing is that you want to try and keep that as low as you can, and uniform pressure, but not terribly heavy. I mean, I've really broken the edge on that, and that's not such a wonderful thing. But you know, all you're doing is taking off that cut edge so that you're not going to slice yourself on it. You could use one of these for doing this too, and just drag that along. And as you can see, that works quite effectively. I find these are very good for irregular holes too. You can drag them around and do that. Another thing that you can get for these is a device like this. Okay, and this is particularly good for tubes. So it'll go around a tube like that and take off a burr. So if you've just cut a tube in a saw or hacksaw or whatever, if you have one of those, you can go around and clean up that edge, and that's handy too. There is a type of countersink. This is an example. It's called a zero flute cutter. I prefer the single flute cutter ones these days. I did experiment with these, and they're not too bad for a light deburring. The problem with these is that when they get blunt, it's that edge which gets damaged. I'm told you can resharpen these with a Dremel tool with a small stone in them. You can just sort of grind that out. I've tried that, mixed success, but I may not have been holding my mouth right, so you know, there's a possibility there too. Anyway, that's a few ways of deburring holes and other things that you may not have heard of. Hopefully that's of use, and I hope that I've managed to explain how this one works as well. Unfortunately, I haven't found anybody in Australia who stocks these yet. I may have to have a talk to some friends of mine, but if you're in the US or you've got friends in the US who can get McMaster Car to deliver, then they certainly have them. I think Quinn has got a link on her webpage to Amazon. Whether they have them in stock or not at the moment, I don't know. Amazon can be a little bit inconsistent with some of their metalworking tools. Sometimes they have them, sometimes they don't.
Thanks to the viewer who asked about these two items. With luck, that's answered the questions, and we'll go from there. So please share, and we'll see you next time.